they should be held to a higher standard than the average citizen when crime is committed.
Right.
Their job is to uphold the law, to protect, to serve and protect the people. If a police officer kills a person, accident or not, they should be held to a much higher standard than a regular civilian. The only people that don't believe it is the people that ain't practicing history.
Right.
Right.
The only people that think that racism don't exist is the people that ain't read a book about the history of this country.
Peace and power. Welcome to the Know Your Rights Camp podcast. I'm your host, Amir Whitaker.
And I'm Dee Barbadillo, and today we are joined by special guest Mike Africa.
Yes.
He is an activist and author, was born into the MOVE organization, which is a Black liberation group in West Philadelphia. His parents were wrongfully imprisoned for decades, inspiring Mike's lifelong dedication to justice. Growing up during the crack epidemic and witnessing police violence firsthand, including the tragic 1985 bombing that killed 11 MOVE members, shaped his activism. At just 13, he began his fight to free his parents, embodying perseverance and resilience. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
And
much.
thank you, too.
Like
Gratitude
they do
for
in
the
poetry
work.
circles.
So, obviously, Philadelphia is very important to you. What inspires your activism to this day?
Well, to be honest with you, things haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's kind of crazy. It's like if you're not inspired to do activist work, no matter who you are, I find that strange. You know what I mean? Because the things that's happening affects everybody. Police brutality is a thing for Black people predominantly, but white people get beat up. You know what I mean? So everybody need to do something. The air that we breathe in is polluted. Mm-hmm. If you're not protesting against the Keystone Pipeline, something wrong with that. You know what I mean? Gentrification didn't just start happening in 2024. You know what I mean? So the invasions that we dealing with, everybody should be talking about something.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And speaking of how you were introduced into the movement, I mean, how you were introduced into this world, too, is how you were born into the movement, right?
See, listen, look, a lot of people join organizations. Mm-hmm. They join groups to become, you know, the activists that they may be world renowned for or not popular for. Yeah, it wasn't like that for me. The day I was born,
right.
It was in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. MOVE baby born in jail.
Right.
You know, and so my great uncle started the MOVE organization. My grandmother was a member. My mother was a member. My father was a member. My aunts and uncles, cousins, everybody walking around with dreadlocks long before locks were popular, long before we knew anything about Whoopi Goldberg, because Jumpin' Jack Flash ain't come out yet. And I was born in that jail cell, and when they were taking me home, people were treating me like the baby Jesus had just come home from from the what was he born in
the manger?
In the manger?
Yeah. And I remember hearing about I believe your auntie was incarcerated too, and she had to cry out and make it known that you were born, that you were healthy, because sometimes things could happen to a baby, you know, born healthy there.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have been the first time that something strange happened to a baby and people said that, you know, the baby didn't exist or we didn't see it. So yeah, different MOVE members, like my aunt was making sure that when they took me out of the jail, it wasn't racist guards that they knew were racist guards taking me out, you know, without my mother, without supervision. You know, Janet, one of the MOVE members that was incarcerated, my mom, she made sure that all the inmates saw me. She made sure that as she walked me out of the jail, she turned my mom to face every inmate so that everyone could be witnesses. And then when she went to court, she announced it in court to the stenographer, to the judge, to the Lynn Washington, who was a journalist, Mumia, who was a journalist. She made sure that everybody knew that I was born so that they couldn't say that something happened, you know, to this baby.
Right. And what was that like? I think you read the records, the transcript of that court hearing.
See, most people don't have the same memory. Like, I got a very powerful memory. So I remember the day when she was walking me out the courtroom.
Wow.
When I was born.
Wow.
And you haven't left the movement since. So you were born into it.
Now, I was born into that movement, and I did. There was a small window of my life where I was not a MOVE member. From 1983 around 83, 84 till 1992. We're going to live like regular people live. We're going to eat cooked food. I didn't eat cooked food back then. Move's diet, the children, we ate all raw food. Sweet potatoes, white potatoes, carrots, everything that we ate was 100% raw. And, but for this moment, Grandma, listen, we tired of this Move life. This ain't gonna work. The way people are treated, the way people treat other people, it's just not working. So we going, you know, and they cut my hair, sent me to school, and I did everything that everybody else did. And then the crack epidemic, between that and just problems at home, where I wasn't the easiest child to get along with.
Okay.
I was a problem child. I mean, you can expect, right? My parents in prison, you know what I mean? So me and my grandmother would clash sometimes, because she would tell me things like, don't go off the block, and I'll be like, okay, I won't. And then she come looking for me when the lights come on, and Mike is nowhere to be found. He's gone. Out hanging with my friends or whatever I was doing. And Grandma was like, listen, you know, this ain't gonna work. You gotta be obedient. You gotta pay attention. It's dangerous out there. And I really just wasn't listening.
Yeah.
So I left. I you know, my Ramona Africa came out of prison in 1992. And when she came home from prison, my grandmother had been to the point where she had raised all her kids. She raised all these grandkids, helped raise all these grandkids. And she was like, you need more extra help. You need special, you need to go back to Move. And she knew that the principles of Move, of John Africa, would be helpful. So I went back, and then from then on, at the age of 13, I got back on the Move.
Right, you were organizing. And actually, let's step back a bit, because I feel like Move was so much ahead of its time with some of the stuff it was putting out there and doing. Yeah. Let's describe Move, some of the principles and priorities that it fought for, and how it was intersectional of bringing different things together.
Move, John Africa started the organization with the intention to protect life, people, animals, and the environment. And, you know, that's a dangerous mission. When you're talking about protecting the environment from chemicals, pollution, and you got a nuclear power plant, and they saying, we building our power plant, we don't care what you say. And then you got all these activists saying, no, that's polluting the air, pollutes the water. It's not helpful for us. If we can get electricity from some other kind of means, or not have electricity. I'd rather have electricity. I'd rather not have electricity and be alive, and my grandkids ain't growing cancer in their bodies.
That part.
So, like, you don't have to build this thing. And same with animals. John Africa would say there's nothing right about putting an animal in a cage in some kind of zoo. There's nothing right about that. There's nothing right about that. You know, the same way that the animals were taken from, the same way Africans were shackled and chained and put on a slave ship and brought to America and forced to work to make money for these people, is the same way the lion was put in a crate and shipped from Africa and put in a zoo to make money for these people.
Wow, it's not
Tigers are not made to jump through rings of fire in Barnum and Bailey Ringling Brothers Circus.
For sure. And by the way, this is not a real tiger.
Well, good. And then John Africa was raw. He would say things like, if the circus owners think it's okay for a baby tiger to jump through a ring of fire, why don't he make his baby do it? If it's okay to make a tiger jump through a ring of fire, why don't he make his wife do it?
Yeah.
That tiger is somebody's wife. That baby is somebody's baby. Just because you don't see him as the same, don't mean that they don't see each other as the same. Right. And if the mentality that allows a man to put a tiger in a cage and make them jump through rings of fire, and if they don't, they're going to be prodded with electrical rods, and they're going to be stuck with steel spikes, intimidated and forced and starved into being obedient for this circus owner, this sadistic fool.
Right.
If that mentality is allowed to continue with these animals, it's going to be allowed to continue with people, and we got to stop it.
Exactly.
So that's how he came. So he Barnum and Bailey Ringling Brothers sadism, you know, and he would say the same is true for people. These prisons ain't nothing but modern day slave plantations.
Exactly.
You know, and so Move would protest a lot, and then they would say the education system is messed up. We got to deal with this educational. This is not education. This is miseducation. This is indoctrination. And Move would protest against the education, the Board of Education, and And all of this is before I was born. This is in the this is in the early 70s, 72, 73. And that got a lot of attention. John Africa talked about the medical industry. He said, man, there's no cure in healing people. There's no cure there is no profit
right.
in healing people. The system want people to be sick. They create the conditions for people to be sick. And if you're not sick, if you got a cure for something, they will take you out. So when he started talking about women, he said it's natural to have babies at home, in your home.
And that's one of the things that blew my mind when hearing your mom describe the process of giving birth to you and how they didn't necessarily alert the people. I was like, wait, that's possible?
Right.
Because you were born there, and your mom, from what I heard her describe, was trying to not make a lot of noise and different things. And birth can happen in these natural settings like that.
2 generations ago, you weren't even allowed to be in the hospital.
Wow. Yeah,
with your black skin, 2 generations ago, you weren't allowed to be in the hospital.
So we know how to give birth.
So we were doing.
Yeah.
Women been having babies since women.
Yeah.
That's a great phrase.
And how new is a hospital? Modern technology, really?
Right. And we
Come on, man.
Think of people like Mama Harriet Tubman. She was a doula and birth worker too.
Every woman that's ever been able to get pregnant had been having babies since long before the builders and the contractors was set up to make a hospital for you to have a baby. So when John Africa started talking about that, and then it's like, wait a minute, man, you cutting into our funding. Because people would start doing it. They the women started having babies at home. Then they started telling their friends about it. And it was like, well, actually, when I went to the hospital, I mean, I was scared, so I went to the hospital, and that's where you're supposed to go, but actually, they really didn't do that much. Like, I could have done this myself. And they might have had the first one, might have had the second one in the hospital, but then they want to see if they can do it themselves, and then they did. So it was like, this is working. I ain't got to pay $30,000.
Right, it's more expensive to be born than it is to die sometimes. Right?
So John Africa was on to something, and you could see, like, and then the raw food thing, John Africa would say, man, listen, let me tell you something. A pie used to be fruit wrapped in dough. Now it's a container of chemicals. When grandma make the cookies that everybody love to smell, baking in the kitchen, it's 4 or 5 ingredients that go into them cookies. Them peanut butter and pecan sandies and all that stuff she making, it's 4 or 5 ingredients. You go buy a box of Enemies and see how many ingredients in there. And most of them is not the ingredients that you need to make the cookie. Most of them is preservatives that keep them, they give a longer shelf life. So what are the preservatives?
Right.
You can eat an egg by itself and be all right. You can take a spoonful of sugar and be all right. You can take the flour that it take and be all right. But you can't take no BHT and just scoop it in your mouth and be all right.
And these chemicals are illegal in many other countries.
They banned in many other countries,
yeah,
but they're not banned in this country. Why not? Because of money.
Exactly.
Let me get that bread about you. I don't care that it's causing you cancer. Don't care if it's causing you obesity. Don't care that it's causing you high blood pressure, hypertension, all this other stuff. We don't care about none of that. All we care about is you bring them dollars over here.
That's why we're grateful to movements like MOVE that awaken the consciousness for people to even consider and be aware of this sort of thing. And you're here at the camp in Philadelphia talking about history specifically. Can you talk to us about the importance of history, especially in this day and age where Black history is under attack?
Right. I believe that the most important part of your mind is your memory. If you can't remember things, you don't know what to do. You don't remember. If you can't remember, it means you don't know. You don't. That's everything. Putting your shoes on, putting your clothes on, who your kids are, who your family is, where you've been, where you're going. Your memory is the most important part of your mind. And if you erase these important parts of history, people won't know how to move forward. You might think that the policeman that just locked up your father is your friend. You might think that the mayor that dropped the bomb on your family is okay to be trusted because he talks a certain way. You might think that the judge that just put your people in prison, these judges, they don't say, sit down, be quiet. Hey, you go get me a sandwich. They don't.
Not anymore. It don't come out their mouth anymore.
Well, I mean, it's different now. They're trying to be a little bit more tact and whatnot. They got TV shows and stuff. So they talk a certain way. They're not going to they don't usually just come outwardly and say how they feel about you or how they work for the system that is designed to put you in jail. If you can't afford a lawyer, you're likely that you're gonna go to jail. Like, you could go to jail, especially if you're in an area where private prisons exist, where they set it up for people to be arrested. They got a quota. This thing got to be 97% filled. So like, if you can't remember, if you don't know history, you are history. You know what I mean? And so the history of MOVE, the history of the Black Panther Party, the BLA, what happened to Tyreek Hill the other day?
Right.
You know what I mean? What happened to Colin Kaepernick when he took a knee on the field just to say, yo, police brutality ain't cool. That ain't right. Can we please figure out how to deal with this situation? Can I use my platform to say that police brutality? Y'all use the platform to say America. How come I can't use the platform to say stop killing black people, right? You know, if you don't have that memory, if you don't have that understanding, if you ain't teaching that history, you failing. You failing the kids. You failing them kids, man. They need to know what's going on. Like the lions in the jungle teach their kids how to hunt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's their survival tactic. History, learning history, being truly educated is our survival tactic.
Right. And being critical of history too. So the way the media, the way even universities and different things describe incidents, you know, in time could change or evolve over time. So could we go back to that moment 40 years ago almost when here in this city, a terrorist attack happened that was funded by tax dollars, state violence perpetuated against the community here, and how was it reported and interpreted then, and some of the things that have changed since then?
So when John Africa was protesting against the injustice in the city and global injustice, that brought so much attention, and specifically there was a police commissioner who turned mayor by the name of Frank Rizzo. This guy was the most racist, horrible type of leader for a city or a population. And he clashed with MOVE, the police department. He was sick his police on MOVE, and they would shoot at MOVE houses. And one day on August 8th, 1978, the police came to MOVE's house. My mother was 8 months pregnant with me. And there was other pregnant women in the house, women, children. And Rizzo said the police will be in there to drag them out by the backs of their necks. Wow. No question about it, children or not. They raided our house. They shot tear gas in the house, fire cannons, water cannons from the fire department. And then it was shooting. It was knocking the house down with a wrecking ball while MOVE people were still in the house.
Wow.
They took all the people to jail. During the whole confrontation, a cop got shot. And of course, they blamed it on MOVE. So members of the organization were protesting to free those people. And while they were protesting, the city's response to that protest was to fly a helicopter over the house, drop a bomb on them, killing 11 people, 5 children. So,
terrorism.
Oh, absolutely, absolute terrorism, and you know,
the state funded, our tax dollars funded that.
The military supplied the C4, the weaponry that was used, anti-tank guns, armor-piercing, 50 caliber machine guns, M16s, M1s, shotguns, M14s. Every type of weapon that you would have for the
military invasion, like army.
Yeah.
And we think of the police as occupying communities like armies occupy places and territories.
Well, you know, police started out as slave catchers.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? They started out as slave catchers, and so their job hasn't changed. They're there to keep the peace, to keep the people in line. It says there to keep the peace, and we work for the whatever. No, yeah, whatever. Their job is to keep people in line. If you start talking, it's like we own property. I got a couple properties, you know, we live, we chilling. And if they say eminent domain is coming through, they can take your house and build a highway or not build anything. Just you can't have it.
Yeah, I heard the area that was bombed today. Like, where is it today? What does it look like today? Is it still?
It looks odd.
Right. It's still things like. Not.
You can see that it's not part of the original structure of the neighborhood. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that just because whatever they say police job is, we know that they originated from slave catchers, and the behavior hasn't changed. And in fact, they should be held to a higher standard than the average citizen when crime is committed.
Right.
Their job is to uphold the law, to protect, to serve and protect the people. If a police officer kills a person, accident or not, they should be held to a much higher standard than a regular civilian. It's like, just in a different category, right? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, his job is to take the last shot. So if he take the last shot and miss, that's kind of a high standard. Like, we expected you to make the shot. If somebody else, like, I don't know, Dennis Rodman take the shot, well, we really didn't expect him to make it, so it was no big deal. He don't shoot. He just rebound. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if the police kill somebody, your job, your actual job. I've seen people on landscape crews. I'm a landscaper. I own a landscaping company. If the rookie comes in and we're digging a hole and they hit a pipe. Well, we know that the pipe was there because we did a survey and we know that that's where the pipe is. But if a rookie hits the pipe, we expect he's a rookie. He never did it before. But if the boss hits the pipe, he's the one who told us to check for the pipe. He's the one that called for the mark out. He's the one who knows landscaping in and out. Mm-hmm. If he hits it, bro, what's the problem?
And part of it is if we keep hitting 1,000 pipes, like each year over 1,000 people are murdered by police, right? At what point do we figure out either we're going to stop digging or figure out a new way to dig?
The difference is the person that's owned that property that called this company to do this work, those people are out there to make money. The police, their job is to do what they're doing. They're not doing the wrong things according to their bosses.
Right.
People, they just selling it that way to people. They're selling that idea to people that they're making mistakes, that there's a few bad apples and all of it. They're doing exactly what they're told to do. Mm-hmm. There is no possible way that if I own a company and my employees keep messing up, I'm keeping them. Mm-hmm. Yo, bro, you killed so-and-so. You don't get a second chance.
Right.
There is no desk due administrative.
No.
You took a life.
Right.
You are done.
Done. Like D and I are both lawyers. If we practice malpractice,
we're done.
Our law license is taken. Like if we get a DUI, they're considered, just different things. Yeah.
If you Shannon Sharp and you do a live accidentally, your is in jeopardy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But because the police, they messing up, but they not messing up. They only messing up to people who believe that they supposed to be different.
That they supposedly protect.
Right. It's not broken. Yeah. They're doing what it's designed to do.
This is what they're told. Listen, guys, here's the situation. Now, I know that, we're going to get a lot of flack right now. It's the holidays. But if you want those Christmas bonuses, I really need you guys to meet your quota for giving out speeding violations. Now, they want their quota because they want their check, so they better, they going to pull people over more.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's the system.
And get away with it.
Well, yeah, because because I ain't got time to go fight it.
Exactly.
Like, this is real stuff.
It's real, yeah.
The only people that don't believe it is the people that ain't practicing history.
Right.
The only people that think that racism don't exist is the people that ain't read a book about the history of this country.
Right.
So, listen, man, it's real. And the news, the way the news report on it.
Exactly.
Guess what? They get paid from the same people that pay the cops.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I asked you, because history is often viewed as what the news writes or what scholars publish, but we know, like Mayor Rizzo had the Philadelphia Inquirer in his pocket and just could, do different things like that.
Let me tell you something about Mayor Rizzo. In 81, when he left office, 81, somewhere around there, the Rizzo administration, the Rizzo era is over. Mm-hmm. This is the message that the powers that be sent to him. Mm. It's over. They brought in this guy, Bill Green. He's the mayor now. Okay. So how we going to let Rizzo? Rizzo's a big, strong cop. He's a cop more than he's a mayor. Mm. Even though he's a mayor, he's more a cop. He's more Italian, Tony Soprano type dude than he is a mayor. So how are we going to show this man? How are we going to send a message to him to let him know? Front page of the Daily News. One of his guys, not a police officer, but a mob guy, that's part of his whole whatever. Head blown off, head back like JFK. When you've seen the JFK assassination, bam, front page of the newspaper.
Wow.
You're done.
Yeah.
So and guess what he had to do? Concede. Rizzo did what he did to try to get rid of Move. Bill Green came in, tried to do what he did to get rid of the mob. And then Wilson Good was brought in. The good, gotta get rid of these. We gotta put a black face on it because
Right.
Because if it's a white face on it, the racism thing is going to be in full effect. Everybody going to see it. We gotta weaken this a little bit. We know we're going to take heat, but if it's a black face on it,
right,
it won't be as bad.
Right. But we know all of our kind ain't our kin, and yeah.
Hell no, all of our kind ain't our
Still to this day.
All skin folk ain't kinfolk. That's some
kinfolk.
realness.
That's the
We
truth.
saw Stephen on Django.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, so we gonna wrap.
We saw Stephen on Django.
Yeah. I have one more question for you. Sorry.
This is over? What?
I know, right? We can build.
Come on, man.
All day.
It's getting warmed up.
I know. And we didn't even get into some of the stuff.
I know.
Yeah. So you actually had to fight to. You
I'm disappointed. Sorry I was late.
No, it was all
That's
good.
Y'all gonna have to edit me because I curse sometimes. It come out.
No,
This is
nothing
all
crazy
good.
happened.
So you had to fight for decades to free your parents. You were a freedom fighter before you were a teenager, right?
yeah,
and,
oh, yeah.
and thankfully, after decades, they were released in 2018, I believe, right? But I heard through one of your interviews that you used to share a rap sometimes when organizing about, I believe one of the title was like, all that's legal ain't right. Or,
Just because it's legal don't make it right.
Just because it's legal don't make it right.
That's right.
So D and I are both lawyers and attorneys, and we definitely agree with that
Yes.
and understand that the law itself is not a moral compass. It's
Part of
was
the
used
system.
to oppress us
It's
and
part of the
different things
system.
like that. So would you like to share a bar or two from that rap, or at least elaborate more on it? And if you want to share a bar, I'm down to boombox with you. Boombox for you.
I told y'all I broke my Achilles heel. I don't rap no more.
All right.
I quit. You know what?
So just tell us about the song or
Yeah.
that concept. What was the title again one more time?
Just because it's legal don't make it right. Slavery was legal. The Holocaust was legal. The bombing people in Palestine right now is legal. The murder of the Move family was all gone through legal channels, assigned by legal people, and officiated and carried out by legal authority. But was it right? Is it right to kill children as they're trying to escape a burning building? You shoot them. Is it right to drop a bomb and let the fire burn, knowing they're inside of there? I mean, this was all done through legal channels.
Right.
It was 100% legal. There are so many things that we talk about that's legal. The amendments exist to deal with the laws that don't really work for humanity and stuff.
Right.
There are so many laws that are just 100% ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so to say, just because legal don't make it right, and just because it's illegal don't make it wrong. I didn't put that part in there. I'm just saying that now.
Right.
But just because something is illegal don't make it wrong. Look, they was busting people. We still trying to get people out of jail that was smoking weed.
Right. And people making billions and millions off it now.
They always have. And now that they made it legal, well, okay. Now, but man, you can't get that time back.
Right.
And just because they made weed illegal, I can't make a hemp sweater. Hemp better than cotton for certain things, right? How come I can't do certain things with this plant because they say it's illegal?
Right.
And they only made it illegal because cotton, the people that had the land for cotton was just like, didn't want competition.
Right.
I mean, so what, legal? I was born in jail.
Right.
I didn't even get sentenced, but I was born in jail. This whole thing about legality is a joke.
And half of the people in jail actually have not been convicted of a crime, right?
There's 2.7 million people in prison in America. That is more people than an entire continent of Europe. Europe is the continent that holds the country that created Nazi Germany. And there are more people in prison in this country, the home of the brave and the land of the free. The land of the free.
Than all of them combined, yeah. Than all.
We put more people. They put more people in prison in this country than China. I heard in China, if you walking down the street, anybody catch you with a kilo of cocaine, you ain't gonna be in jail for 10 years. You're not gonna be alive for 10 months. That country, and I heard that from a Chinese man, so I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard it from a Chinese person talking about China.
Okay.
And my point is, if that's true, it seemed like they would have a higher prison population.
Mm-hmm.
With that type of mentality about certain things, how is it that America could be the place that houses more prisoners or locks up more people I said housing is a bad word because that's like housing is good. Housing is a human right.
They warehousing.
Housing is a human right. Incarcerating more people than the entire
continent.
China got 1.4 billion people in it.
Yeah.
And y'all putting less people in prison. It's crazy.
That's how we know there's something up. So
and then the point about it is the disparity is overwhelmingly black.
Oh yeah.
People that can't afford legal, people that ain't got no money, poor people. That's the ones that's taking the brunt of it.
Exactly.
Because there's more people. There's more people. Black people be all in the sports and basketball and football and all of this kind. There's more criminals in Congress than there is in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. And my parents were incarcerated a lot too. Your parents were incarcerated. Our parents were stolen from us the same way 150 years ago. You know, our ancestors born on a plantation could have their parents taken away and stolen from us too.
Right.
So it's no mistake. But we thank you so much for your work, Mike Africa Jr. We thank you for everything that you do for the movement and inspiration. And we thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Everybody be happy. Laugh about it. It keeps you from crying.
Yeah, that's a question I actually had for you. Is about the hit with all it, but we don't have time to go into that.
Laugh about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike Africa Jr. for joining us. We appreciate you, brother, and thank you for the work you've been doing for decades for Black liberation. We really appreciate you.
Mike Africa Jr. on all platforms. That's it. Boom. It's a wrap.